Hello everyone, welcome to Court with Krissy. This clip features a defendant who failed to report an accident. Based on her version of events, I think she might be missing a few key details. Let me know if you agree. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
There is a link, but it's on the Magistrate Court's website. You can go to that website and get the link. All right, so Ms. Erickson, let me ask you to stand up, please. Counsel, your client is charged in one warrant. Do you waive reading of the charge and the particulars in the warrant?
We do, Your Honor. I just asked if the clerk could send me copies of the warrant when they get a chance, and also stamp copies of my files.
Yeah, you can call the office at the conclusion of the calendar. So, Ms. Erickson, your attorney has waived reading of the warrant here in open court. Your warrant number is 24W006456. Do you understand what you're charged with? And the microphone is in the ceiling. And so I'm going to ask that you speak up so I can hear your response.
I don't think I'm 100% sure about it.
All right, so let me stop you right there. As I said in my opening, everybody, everything you say is going to be recorded. So I'm not trying to have a conversation with anybody to talk about their case. If you don't understand, I'm just going to read your warrants to you. So your warrant number is 24W006456. You're charged with failing to report an accident. It is alleged that on March 29th, 2024, at about 11:50 a.m., it is alleged you were involved in an accident resulting in injury to a person or property. The extent of the damage was less than $500. It is alleged that you failed to immediately notify law enforcement. It is also alleged that you never called the police after the crash. It is alleged that you stated that you were checking your phone to find a nearby gas station. You lost control of the vehicle. You left the roadway and you struck the victim's mailbox, a tree, and plowed through a lawn and crashed into a creek behind the victim's home. That is the substance of your warrant. I'm going to hear from your attorney on his request for bond, and then I'll hear from the state.
Excuse me, Judge. I'm sorry, attorney. If you look at the check, there's actually additional charges that was brought to my attention after I sent that email regarding the add-on. Yes, containing a different case number. So it's quite a few additional charges on there.
My understanding.
All right, here's what I want you to do. Madam Clerk, will you please email Mr. Jimenez the warrants so that he can take a look at them, and we'll come back to this case. Ms. Erickson, please have a seat.
And Ms. Erickson, I'll talk to you about the warrants later.
Mr. Jimenez, look, let me tell you something. You've probably never been in my courtroom before, but when you start talking over me, you're literally yelling in court. And so if you want to have a conversation with your client, I'll ask my assistant to open up a breakout room. But what I don't want you to do is just start talking to your client here in open court. That's one of our limitations as a virtual courtroom. So would you like to try to have a conversation with your client in a breakout room? I don't know where we will put her because she's in the courtroom now. But I'm going to ask my assistant to send you those warrants so that you can properly represent your client today.
Your Honor, I apologize. I did not mean to speak over you. I waited until I could tell. I think there might be a delay, but I waited until I figured the court was done speaking. Right. I do not need to have a
private conversation. Thank you very much. Okay, I got you. We're going to send the warrants to you so you can take a look at them. All right, let's go down this calendar because we got a lot of folks. All right. We got the reckless driving, distracted driving, duty to report 436. That one was dismissed. Got it. Fail to maintain lane. And duty upon striking a fixture. All right. Mr. Jimenez, have you had an opportunity to speak with your client? No, you haven't. I'm sorry. Have you had an opportunity to review the warrants?
Yes, Your Honor. I've known the charges that were alleged in my motion.
Oh, there's only one charge alleged in your motion. So apparently there are 4 more charges. Ms. Erickson, let me ask you to stand up, please. Ms. Erickson, you are charged in 5 warrants. I understand your attorney may not have had an opportunity to read them to you. What was presented to the case to the court this morning was only 1 warrant, but it turns out there are a total of 5. And so I'm willing to read them. Ms. Erickson, if you don't understand what you're charged with, I'm willing to read all 5 warrants to you here in open court. Do you understand what you're charged with?
Yes, ma'am.
Say again?
Yes.
All right, then. Then your warrant numbers are 24W006456, 24W006. Gotta go backwards now. 24W006434, 435, 437, and 438. I'm going to hear from your attorney on the request for bond, and then I'll hear from the state. Mr. Jimenez, I'll hear from you.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, we're asking for a signature bond. My client, as you can very well see, she's standing before you with a neck brace. She has a broken neck. The warrant alleges that she failed to report an incident where there was substantial bodily harm. She is the victim of the substantial bodily harm that was caused by the accident. It's a very tragic situation. She was driving, lost control of her vehicle. Apparently, it's alleged from the officers. They haven't shown us anything. We met with the officers, but it's alleged by them that she hit a mailbox. All my client knows is that she lost control, woke up in the middle of a creek down the ravine. She was trapped in the car, got herself out of the car, couldn't find her phone. She called her husband through her Apple Watch. Her husband immediately went to find her, was able to track her down by her GPS location. When he got there, she was walking and she was confused walking around by the road from the severe impact. She had crawled out of the car that flipped over multiple times, crawled up the creek and up the hill to the street where her husband found her. Immediately, they went straight to the emergency room. When they got there, she was at the emergency room. They, as soon as they laid her on the bed, when she couldn't get back up, that is when they determined she had a broken neck. She also had a broken hand. They put her into surgery immediately. I think it was 4, 5, 6 in the morning. She was in surgery. The officers called them because the car is registered to her. They called her, and while she was inside the MRI machine after she had gone through neck and hand surgery. So her mistake was that after she had this accident where she needed to go to the emergency room and had surgery, she didn't stop and call the police to let them know she hit a mailbox. Once she was contacted by the police department, they called back. And once they called back, we scheduled a meeting. We met with them in person last week. We were under the impression there's going to be Brookhaven Municipal Court charges, if any. I was given a call yesterday. The call was that she had 5 charges. Contacted my client, said, you have an active warrant. Obviously, as my duty as an officer of the court said, if you have an active warrant, you have to turn yourself in. We were under the impression they'll have preset bonds, but turn herself in. She didn't find out there was no preset bonds until after being held in for about 2 hours with no communication. The husband called me around 4 p.m. Tried everything we could to get a hold of somebody at the solicitor's office. No calls were returned. But this is why it's an emergency motion. She has a broken neck. She just had surgery about 2 weeks ago. She is in tremendous pain. She is on painkillers that are prescribed.
I read the warrant. I read the warrant. Tell me what you're asking for.
We're asking for a signature bond. We're asking for her to be allowed to be released so she doesn't end up back in the hospital from further injuries from being in a jail cell. She is gainfully employed. She works for Bank of America. She has 2 children, toddler age. She takes care of her mother.
Mr. Jimenez, I read your warrant. I mean, I read your motion. Ms. Spanauer, did you get a copy of the motion?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Then I apologize. Go ahead, Mr. Jimenez.
I
thought the state had already read the. I thought the state had already read the motion. Apparently they did not. So you may continue. I didn't want. I was trying to save some time because I assumed that the state had read the motion as well. They had not. Go ahead.
So I guess with the Ayala factor, she's gainfully employed, works at Bank of America, obviously not going back to work anytime soon because she's still recovering from the severe injuries. She takes care of her mother who lives with her and her husband and their 2 young children. Her mother just got done with chemotherapy. She's fighting cancer. So she is not a flight risk. I don't think she could run if she tried. She's not going to intimidate any victims or witnesses. The witnesses are all officers. The owner of the mailbox, obviously, she will take care of those damages. As soon as we get a bill, we'll make sure that gets paid for. And we apologize to that homeowner because their mailbox is damaged and their yard is destroyed. But other than that, Your Honor, we ask that you grant her a signature bond and allow her to go home and continue her recovery.
Your Honor, I appreciate the explanation of everything from Ms. Erickson's perspective. Clearly, the officers thought something else was going on here, more serious. The state's recommendation, based on everything that's been explained, is a $100 cash bond, which is $25 for each of these still pending warrants.
Well, there's 5 of them.
Oh, but I thought that one of them was dismissed.
The duty report was dismissed under the 5 warrants, but then they came back and got it under a different warrant.
Oh, well, then it's still $100, $20 to each warrant.
Yeah. Ms. Erickson, I've reviewed your criminal history. You don't have any arrests or convictions. And so I'm going to grant your attorney's request for UJR. And I think this goes without saying, but if anybody is watching on the YouTube, this is why you are told to keep your eyes on the road and off your phone. Because Ms. Erickson has a broken neck because she looked at her phone. I'm going to grant the UJR. Anything else on Ms. Erickson? Oh, she looked at her phone while she was behind the wheel of a moving vehicle. And we can't stress it enough. You think you can get away with it. You think you can get away with it. You actually get away with it. You actually get away with it. And then it catches up with you. So thank goodness there were no other folks physically involved. But Mr. Jimenez, I am going to grant the UJR because your client has no history, and I think that she's paying a bigger price at this point for looking at her phone while she was behind the wheel of a car. Anything else on Ms. Erickson?
Nothing further from the defense, Your Honor.
Ms. Erickson, that concludes your first appearance hearing, ma'am. You may be seated. Mr. Jimenez, you may call the office after 12 noon to get a copy of the paperwork from here. So if you don't have any other business with the court, you are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.